Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, creepy people.
Hello.
Hello. It feels so weird because I keep going back and forth between the camera and my monitor because I want to look at you when I'm talking to you and then also
Yeah,
talk to the people. It's
it's
a whole
tough.
thing. Yeah,
And we're
it's a
not
lot.
together, so it's not as easily to look me in the face and talk to me. I know. And during the Christmas season.
I know. And this is just based on the calendar when it would have made sense for us to open gifts and we won't be together.
I know. And then we won't be together next weekend either.
Wait, we're not?
No, because I'll be dog sitting the puppy.
Oh, I think I need to add that to my calendar.
Yeah, I think you do too.
Oh my gourd. But we are still recording? Or
Yeah.
no? Okay.
I,
That's why. Because 'cause I'm like, "It's the same."
yeah,
It's
because
not the same.
she got Starlink, so I feel like that would work for their internet's
Fingers
better.
crossed.
So,
Fingers
I
crossed.
mean, Elon will be listening, but I mean, it's fine.
I mean, I kind of just assume that there's always a billionaire listening, you know?
Hey.
Oh, should we introduce the show?
Yeah, sure, why not?
I guess. This is PNW Haunts and Homicides, where we chat about true crime, the paranormal, and all things spooky in the Pacific Northwest.
And that would be the PNW if you nasty.
If you're nasty.
Hi. Oh, I have a visitor. Come here. Nope, he's gone. Okay.
Okay, well,
We had a puppy, but he left. He ran away.
what are you gonna do? You know?
So anyway,
Oh,
about those tarot readings.
yeah.
We usually do those at the end of every episode for a little deeper insight into our topic. You might notice that technically Christmas or the holidays, whatever, is over, but we are coming to you from the past where it is not over yet. It hasn't even begun yet. So
Yeah,
we're still celebrating. And because we don't get to be together, I feel like we deserve that.
yeah. And we will not be taking questions.
Yeah. So if you see our color scheme and if you're watching the video, I decided to wear my cozy hood and didn't take it off, so I look kind of
Mm,
weird, but that's fine.
yeah.
Let's do it. I'm
All
ready.
right. You are not ready. I
Mm.
promise. Yeah. To start us off, I'll quote true crime author J.B. Fisher, a PNW local with a doctorate in English Renaissance literature from the prestigious Reed College, also PNW based. In 1958 to 1959 ish, this was a huge news story. For almost a year, it received nearly daily coverage in the Oregonian and the Oregon Journal. But in a haunting parallel to the case itself, this case has in time become a truly baffling mystery.
Ooh,
I gotta get in the
mysterious.
I gotta get in the habit of saying end quote because that last sentence that was mine.
Oh, yeah, you do. I do the same
Yeah,
thing, I forget. They're just
what are
like,
you gonna
"You'll
do?
know our voices. You'll know when the quote's ending and where our voice begins."
Yeah, or maybe you all think that I talk like a doctorate, English Renaissance literature guy.
I mean, sometimes.
So I was like, Cassie's gonna say yes. And I feel like I was setting you up to say no, but here we are.
No.
Oh, Ensign Kenneth Ken Martin was born September 10th, 1904. I don't know that anyone was actually in the habit of addressing him by his military rank, like just casually at this point.
What
But
was
I
his
did,
rank?
it's Ensign.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
you said the word and it sounded familiar, and then okay, I see.
Yeah. But I did see some source material that mentioned it or that referred to him that way. So I don't know, maybe just given the situation, it's a sign of deference or respect. His wife, Barbara Aileen Cable, was born in February of 1910. Sometime in February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The 14th, because you're wearing like a heart shirt.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I was going for Christmas vibes, but maybe that was, for barbs, for
I know, and you
babs.
you literally you pulled up, you have this red and green on. You have red and green behind you, and all I see is a heart. And I'm like, "Oh, you're Valentine's Day." You're like, "Bitch, I'm Christmas. What do you mean?"
I am Christmas.
But it all connects.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, and hold on.
What?
I didn't even put that together. I
Oh,
have this
cute.
skeleton heart hands mug that I'm drinking out of. It's pink and it has heart
Adorbs.
hands. We're both hearts and we're both Christmas. How did we do that?
I don't know.
That's funny.
We're not I think we've shown time and time again that we're far too frazzled to really plan out any of these things, so
Yeah, no, totally not. That's funny.
Okay. The pair were married on November 28th of 1929, mere weeks after the Great Crash in October that same year. So that was the start of the Great Depression.
Okay, I was like, what kind of
Yeah.
crash are we talking about? Like a
Stock market.
steamboat
Oh,
incident or the
no, this is
economy?
yeah, it's I mean the most infamous market disaster I think of the modern era, I would say. Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Pretty crazy. And it really did, just like, you know, if most of us were alive, at this point, which hopefully if you're listening, you were, the 2008 market recession, how it sort of like in some respects, there are aspects of it that started here in the United States, but it really became sort of a global financial crisis.
Mm,
It's like that scale.
okay.
It hardly seems like a harbinger of joy, and yet the couple went on to have 4 children.
For in this economy?
Well, I mean, it wasn't this economy, it
In
was
that
yeah.
economy?
Yeah, I mean, either way, not great.
Well,
The Martin family lived in a 2-story Tudor-style home in Portland. By all accounts, they were well-liked by neighbors and incredibly kind people who were active in the local community.
aw.
Yeah. So I know I told you this wasn't strictly speaking a Christmas case, but there are a couple of things that make it feel a little bit more Christmassy than I let on. So,
Oh, okay.
the street on which the Martins lived was often referred to as Candy Lane during the
Ooh,
Christmas season.
Candy Lane.
Candy Lane.
I wanna go there.
Yeah. This was apparently due in no small part to the family's love of the holiday season, as well as spreading Christmas cheer to their neighbors. Ken played Santa Claus every year for neighborhood children who approached with awe in their eyes to collect the homemade candy cane decorations that the family made to share with their neighbors.
Why is this the most fucking wholesome thing I've ever heard?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know, it's pretty precious. The family wasn't only known for their small acts of kindness during the winter season, though. They were also well known to organize summer events as well,
Oh, they
which
held Christmas in their heart all year.
I'm just saying, Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Ken worked at Eckley's Electric Home Service Company. He supervised the repair department and had an apparently impeccable attendance record. His failure to show up to work on December 8th was, quote, unprecedented,
Oh.
end quote.
Oh, that's because he's afraid of being on the naughty list, so, like, that's a
That's
huge deal.
exactly. We can only assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ken reportedly had an important meeting at work that day, so it was particularly unusual for someone so fastidious and punctual just to not show up.
I'm worried.
Yeah, I feel like I would be too. If someone just doesn't show up to work,
Yeah.
that's concerning.
Yeah, because
The
you
Mar-
know those people. Like, there's people who just don't show up to work and, like, you know who they are.
yeah, yeah. And they
Yeah, so
usually
you
don't stick around that long. The Martin family had money in the bank with no readily apparent troubles, financial or otherwise, as far as the casual observer was concerned. The family home was valued at $15,000, and I found in some source material that there was an additional $15,000 in cash and other valuables. Um, Other valuables, I would be curious to know what all that entails.
yeah.
Um, just given the dollar value of a particular item that's going to come up later.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Also,
Secrets.
yeah. Also, would like to point out that is significantly more than the sum total of my current estate decades later.
I've never even seen that amount of money in my entire life.
I mean, I've prepared that amount of money for like other people at a
Oh.
bank, but yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it physically and in person. It was a short time. It was good time, not a long time.
Aw.
On December 7th, 1958, the weather in Portland was marked by patchy fog that burned off as the day warmed to the mid 50s. It sounds like nearly perfect weather for that time of year, for particularly that day's itinerary for the Martin family. The Martin family planned to travel out towards the Larch Mountain area, about 30 miles east of Portland, to find a Christmas tree and some other greens to make wreaths.
Oh.
I know. Pretty wholesome.
Okay, I'm torn because like, real trees in your house are they're so icky to me because of the spider
Oh,
situation. So I'm
oh,
like, oh, tree hunting. I remember liking that until I realized how many bugs are in the fucking trees.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like the pro move is to take it somewhere and, like, I don't know, maybe you have a shed and then you just throw, like, one of those bug bombs, like, in the shed with the tree, and then when you carry it back out of the shed, you just shake the shit out of it.
Oh, it also makes me sad, just like killing a tree. I don't
Yeah.
know. Oh.
Yeah. Our tree this year is a little, like, tabletop guy, and it's a real tree, and we were like, "I think, like, we have to plant it, right?" Like
Yeah, I've had one of
yeah,
those. It didn't
yeah.
live when I planted it, but that's fine. Maybe
Oh.
yours will.
Oh, no.
It's fine. It's fine, but at least that's like, I don't know, a small one is fine, I
Yeah,
feel like. And
yeah.
it's not gonna harbor like tons of spiders,
Yeah, no.
millions.
Ugh.
Ugh. I have a spooky tree up naturally.
Of course. Okay. Earlier in the day, some of their extended family had been over, which was not unusual. It sounds like they were very, not just community, but also very family oriented. And they did have a pretty good size group of kind of extended family and like close family friends that lived, within a relatively short distance from their home. It was at about 10:30 a.m. that Mr. and Mrs. Robert D. Evans, cousins of the Martins, visited the Martin family home with their two children and the child of another relative, Marcy Welch.
Sounds like a party.
Yeah, it's a party.
Cousin party.
Yeah, it's a party with a bunch of 7-year-olds.
Yeah. I meant like I was thinking more of
Yeah,
like from the point of view of the 7-year-old, like sleepover with all the cousins.
yeah, yeah. This was on their way to a later Sunday dinner at the Welch family home, though the Martins would decline the invitation extended to them.
Hmm,
Ken had told the relatives that morning that their venture out on East Highway 84 would take up the majority of their day, and they just likely wouldn't be able to make it for dinner later.
that makes sense,
Yeah,
right? I think, yeah?
it does. It's definitely going to make more sense. We have some information about the timeline that, though there's sort of some discrepancies and things, it's like, that's interesting.
Hmm,
Um, it was around 1:30 to 2 p.m. that neighbors recalled seeing the Martins leaving in the family sedan. Their neighbor, Ella Chin, who lived just down the street, thought it closer to the latter of the two. So she said, I think that they definitely left closer to 2 o'clock. While Frank Womack, who had been outside washing his car, believed it was closer to 1:30.
hmm. Well, I don't know who's like, if you're outside washing your car, are you looking at the clock, you know?
That was my exact thought. And then my next sentence, and since this case is from the 1950s, I'm surprised that the source material I found doesn't just say they left at 1:30 before a female neighbor clearly became hysterical.
Right.
Like
That is so true, though.
a man said this, so we're going to
Yeah.
assume it's fact.
'Cause I
Either
don't know,
way,
like oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, back then, I don't know if, like, your watch would be waterproof, like, you wouldn't wanna be wearing it,
right.
washing the car, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. No, I think that's such a good point. I don't know how he knew exactly what time it was, and I feel like she was probably, if she
In the
wasn't
kitchen.
that's what I was gonna say, if she wasn't in the kitchen, she was probably close enough by that, like, she may have just glanced at the clock. People also had clocks on their walls.
Mhm.
So, being indoors, I don't know, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it makes more sense to me. There are some other details, like I said, that I think probably line up a little bit more closely with them having left at about 1:30. I don't know that a half hour is making
Yeah,
that
that
much of a
much
difference.
difference, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an odd time of day to begin a journey into a wooded area, though, because it's like this time of year.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it gets dark at, like, 4.
Mhm. The
Yeah.
grandson Oh, sorry. I was
No,
like,
just, like, I'm
yeah.
just, like, like, fully agreeing with you, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah!
Yeah. Ah!
Oh.
The grandson of the detective who worked the case for Multnomah County even knew Kenneth didn't like to drive when it was dark outside.
Dark
Leaving this
outside.
It's dark
Dark
outside.
outside. You can't drive in the dark.
Well, he didn't like to, and
I
I
don't
can
either.
relate to that, yeah.
Seriously. Sucks.
The older you get, the better the reason has to be for you to leave your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just drove like an hour in the dark, foggy rain the other night, and it was not fun. It sucked. I don't wanna do it.
Mm-mm. It's not for me.
But I got paid, so it's fine.
Well, yeah, that checks out. Leaving this late in the day and taking the length of their drive into account, there wasn't much daylight left for their foraging plans. Because remember, they're trying to cut down a Christmas tree. They're supposed to be gathering greens to put together a bunch of wreaths. Like,
Yeah. Huh.
and, they're headed out kind of towards like Cascade Locks, essentially like Hood River. So, I mean, even from Portland, that's still a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Huh.
know. Just seems odd. It sort of gives me pause about some of the later theories. I don't know.
Ugh,
Well,
I'm worried about the theories. I don't like what you're
uh,
setting up here. I'm getting
yeah, it's
uncomfortable.
none of it's great.
I need to hug my blankie.
Yeah, I would. In any case, the Martins reportedly left their home in the family vehicle, a Ford Country sedan. It was white or cream, according to some source material, and red. I'm actually really quick. I'm going to pull up the photo folder that I have for the case, and I'm gonna Do you want me to text it to you? I'm gonna send you a picture of it
Yeah,
because
text it to me. Oh, cute. I love old cars. Also, this looks like rust and not red. Freaking cute.
I know, it's cute. It kind of
It's
reminds me, like, a little bit of, like, cars that you see in, like, old-timey, like, movies, like Christmas
yeah.
movies, like, oh god, I think, like, Christmas Vacation or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah, yeah.
Vacation? Is
Yeah,
that okay.
I think so. That sounds right. Yeah, and I can just, like, picture a Christmas tree on top of this car too. It's
Yes! It was literally the most 1950s car imaginable, I think. I picture this at the drive-in. It's got the tree strapped to
oh,
the roof, like you said.
yeah.
Somebody's coming out delivering like malts and burgers and fries in roller skates.
Oh my god, I want a malt from a roller skated person immediately.
I
I'm
don't
going
think
to
I
Sonic.
Oh,
Wait, do they do roller skates there?
I
Wait, yeah,
don't
they
think
do.
so. Do they?
I feel like they do.
Maybe.
Some of them, I think it's like a choice. I don't know. I could be wrong.
You got you guys, do they do roller skates?
Do they? Am I like, or was that like a fever dream I had?
I don't know. Somebody please tell us. I'm too afraid to Google it and find out that she's like really losing it.
Sometimes I'm right though about the weirdest stuff. So,
No, totally.
but I want comments. I want interaction.
Give it. Loaded into the car were both Ken and Barbara, as well as Barbara, aka Barbie,
I was gonna say.
14, who was a freshman at Grant High School at the time, Virginia, 13, and Susan, 11. You may recall that I previously said the Martins had 4 children. Their 28-year-old son, Donald, was
Okay.
stationed in New York with the Navy.
Quite a bit older than his sibs.
Yeah. I was like, what explains this insane age gap? And then immediately they had a bajillion. You know what I mean? Not a
Sounds like
bajillion, but
a high school accident, and then later on, I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, sure, but this is a married couple. e- Essentially before birth control was sort of widely used.
Oh, okay.
So I just feel like it's kind of like Pringles. It's sort of usually like a once you pop, you don't stop.
I
And
mean, but
they,
everyone has difficulties. I mean, some people have difficulties or
I
whatever.
guess, I don't know. But then once they broke the seal again, it was on.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't. It very interesting. It's said that the family had lunch at a diner located in Hood River. Clara York, a waitress at the Paradise Snack Bar in Hood River, said she waited on the family between 4 and 4:30. However, she later modified her story slightly, clarifying that she believed they had come in closer to around 2 p.m. So, if they had come in at 2, they definitely would have needed to leave the house at 1:30.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Nevertheless, her original story and timeline may have been more plausible because she remembered turning the floodlights on in the parking lot just after they left as dusk fell.
So, why would she change her story?
Well, I think, sometimes eyewitness testimony is always kind of tricky. And especially when you're asking someone to give you, a precise timeline. I would assume, particularly as a waitress, um, or really like anyone who's like in their work environment, you know, you can look up at the clock and all of a sudden realize, holy shit, it's lunchtime. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you're busy, you just have a lesser awareness. I don't know. I
Huh.
do. I think it's odd, but it's not even close to the weirdest thing. The family also stopped for gas at the Cascade Locks service station. The reports differed as to when they arrived and who waited on them because
Of
why
course.
why wouldn't it? In fact, this receipt, a receipt for gas they purchased like 30 minutes out of town, arrived in the Martin mailbox roughly 2 weeks after this particular date. So, apparently gas stations used to mail people receipts?
Interesting.
Yeah. It
Okay.
indicated that 5 gallons of gas had been purchased that day. Martin's signature on the receipt was authenticated by handwriting experts at the time.
Okay.
So, presumably, they actually did get gas there. That feels verifiable. It doesn't really tell us a lot
It doesn't
because,
have a timestamp?
nah, not that I'm aware of.
God dang it. Receipts
Yeah,
nowadays have timestamps.
they sure do. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Honestly, just the marvel that is anyone going to the effort of mailing a receipt.
yeah. That's
Wow.
interesting.
It was a different time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like
Hmm.
just so like leave it to Beaver. You know what I mean? Kelsey and Doris Knutson claimed to have seen what looked like the Martin station wagon around dusk, parked under the Bridge of the Gods in Cascade Locks. 2 men were standing next to the vehicle and speaking to the passengers inside. This was most likely the last reported sighting of the Martin family.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not great. It was roughly 9:30 p.m. the following day, December 8th, that Ken's boss, Edward Lenz, called the police concerned about the family's whereabouts after Ken never reported to work that day. That attendance record, I'm telling you. It would also be established by Charlotte Dorsey, a second grade teacher, and also Ken's sister, that the Martin children had not attended school that day. The police would accompany Charlotte to the family home for an old timey wellness check.
Is this on the 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
Look at you, superstar.
Just trying to get the timeline down.
Yeah. I know. She's like, I'm going to solve it. In the Martin family's ranch style home, there was thawed meat on the counter, dishes in the sink, a load of wash in the machine, and they'd even left the heater on downstairs.
Oh.
It seemed that the Martins had planned to return, but where
For
were they
sure.
now? I know. I mean, everyone that talked to them that day, and well, I should say the day prior, everyone that talked to them the day presumably that they disappeared said, I mean, based on their plans, obviously they were headed home that evening.
Yeah, they were going to get a train coming back, right? Like, you
Yeah.
don't yeah.
Yeah, because then you
You
gotta
gotta get
shake
that
all
thing in
this.
water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta shake all the spiders out, water it, and decorate the bitch.
Yeah. Gotta get
Yeah.
that star on top.
Mm-hmm. An exhaustive search and investigation were undertaken in an attempt to discover the Martin family's whereabouts. Some 6,000 circulars were distributed by law enforcement nationwide.
A circular?
Yeah, it's basically like, uh,
Like a flyer?
yes. So sometimes they were included like in your newspaper, things like that.
Okay.
So there's
Like a missing persons alert type of thing.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
essentially that's what we're talking about. They were distributed in kind of I think a variety of ways at this point in history, but yes, that's the ultimate
They
takeaway.
were circulated. Is
Circulated,
that why they're called circulars? Or were they
probably.
shaped circular?
They not circular in
Like a
shape
snowball?
historically.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's just an interesting sorry, I don't know why I'm stuck on that name for it. We got shit to do. Sorry.
No, I love it. A $1,000 cash reward was raised for tips in the case, $900 from friends and family, and another $100 that was donated by a motor safety club.
Oh,
I know. Even the clubs in the 1950s were just it's very wholesome.
that
Very, very
is
wholesome.
motor safety.
Yeah. Pretty cute. Pretty cute.
We need those nowadays, more of those.
I feel like probably more we need of those.
Okay, Yoda.
Yeah.
More we need of those.
More we need of those. Just days after Christmas on December 29th, a woman phoned authorities with the tip that the family was, quote, in water by a totem pole, end quote.
In water
Hmm.
by a totem pole?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Though reportedly she could not say where exactly, which tracks because I don't know where that would be. A totem
Yeah.
pole in water.
It could be anywhere and nowhere.
Yeah. It seemed like the trail had gone cold despite the best efforts of Detective Walter Graven, which I'm going to be honest, nothing against him because actually I think he's a good dude and he did probably as good a job as anybody might have. Um, but I don't want the detective that's involved with my case to be named Graven.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds a little
Yikes.
grave. You know
A
what I
little
mean?
bit grave.
It's a little too on the nose. But honestly, he's great
Grave.
as far as I know.
Oh,
He was a man from the 1950s.
it's
So,
not his fault.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Was it his fault? Did he
no,
do it?
no. I'm just saying he's a man in the 1950s. So, like, how great
Oh, I see, I see, I see.
realistically
Right.
in a historically racist police department. So,
Was the person who called and said it was in water by a totem pole, were they, like, a psychic?
girl, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you say
Hmm.
that and I just, like, missed it?
No, no.
Okay.
We're not really going to come back to that because
Okay.
they could never really substantiate anything that this person said.
It just sounds
Um,
like a psychic would say that. Like, I don't know where, but I'm seeing water in a totem
no, a,
pole.
1,000%. Your
Okay,
instincts are
okay, okay.
totally on. I mean, because I believe that report came in um, on the telephone, it's like, who
Mm.
knows who that person was or like
Yeah.
anybody can call themselves a psychic, right? But
Right.
yes, yeah. I know very, very, it's one of those, like, kind of creepy cold case, really, I mean, just generally true crime case things that, like, comes back so frequently. Why are there so many psychics that wanna give information to the police? I guess if you legitimately think you have information, even if it sounds wild, I mean, what's the harm, I guess, to a certain
Yeah.
degree, but I don't
But you
I
don't
don't know.
want them, like, wasting all their time and resources on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe bring it to, like, a private search team or something and see if they would like to take that
Yeah.
on. I mean, I don't really know the options, but there's
Mhm.
gotta be something better than just, like, I don't know, wasting the time of police. I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing, in this case, we have enough information to know that, the disappearance was taken seriously really from the beginning, um, and there's more information than I anticipated,
Oh, okay.
like, a lot more.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of it is the type of stuff that we would say, like, that's I think broadly speaking, you'd say, "Well, sure, that looks this way or that," but it's very circumstantial. Through the course of the investigation, it would come to light that just a day after their disappearance, A stolen white Chevrolet was found east of the Cascade Locks. The vehicle was registered in California, where it had been stolen by two ex-convicts, um, who conveniently were at this time they were escaped. They had escaped.
Holy shit.
Mhm. They were apprehended the day after the Martin family disappearance.
So they caught them.
Mhm.
That's what apprehended means.
Yeah. But it's like, "Oh, interesting." So, an abandoned vehicle, 2 ex-cons from California in the same area at the same time. I don't know.
And didn't someone see the family's vehicle, like 2 guys talking to them?
Sure did. I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm really paying attention today.
Uh-huh. It's gonna there's okay. Later, it would be revealed that the owner of the diner that the Martin family had reportedly stopped at for lunch knew one of the escapees.
The one that
He
changed her story?
the owner.
Oh, okay, not
Yeah.
the waitress that
Yeah.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh. Still.
He's yeah, I mean, either way, it's like there's more than one person that puts them there in that diner, which is really important because of what I'm about to say next. He stated that while on the lam, the two men had been there that day at the diner as well, and even left the establishment around the same time as the family.
Did they ride their lambs out? Every time you use that term, I can't.
Something else odd happened within a short time after the family's disappearance in the area. A bloody 38 Colt Commander handgun was recovered in the very same area where the vehicle had been discovered abandoned. You know, the one that
Oh,
was stolen by the 2 ex-cons?
right.
That
Okay,
one.
okay. A
Mhm.
bloody gun means, like, they were close. Ugh. I
W
assume. I don't know.
I'll I think you may be onto something. I'll let
Ugh.
you When it was discovered in the bushes, it was covered in dried blood. The man and his wife who had found it turned it in to the local police, but it was ultimately just returned to him.
By the
They don't
person who found it?
yeah, so he turned it into the police and the police were like, "We're all done with this, so you can have it back."
Um, that doesn't seem like the right thing to
Mhm.
be doing with a bloody gun
Mhm,
that
mhm,
someone found.
mhm.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. My understanding is that he turned it into the local police, which would have been like Hood River, different jurisdiction from PPB, the Portland police. Um, when Detective Walter Graven of the Multnomah County Police learned of the gun, he wanted to explore that avenue in his investigation because, doy. But of course, he couldn't because it had been found outside his jurisdiction in Portland, Oregon, within Multnomah County, and had reportedly, again, like I said, already been returned to the Good Samaritan that turned it in before he would ever get the chance.
I just feel like common sense. It's
Not
a
that common.
bloody it's a bloody thing that can murder people, and you're not gonna just keep it in evidence just in case. Like,
I
e
mean, at that point, they just did not have the same
I
scientific
know, but, like,
capabilities. I
even
know.
back then, it's a bloody murder weapon because it has blood
Uh,
on it. It literally has
yeah,
blood on it.
literally has blood on it.
Like, if it was just a gun, okay, maybe, but, like,
Right.
even then, maybe don't give guns to people who, like, don't who just find them.
Yeah. I mean, oh,
Finders
finders
keepers.
keepers.
Yeah. Let's not play finders keepers with guns, okay,
No,
kids?
I really don't think we should. And so, a case quickly turning cold continued to grow even colder with time.
Mm.
There were a number of reported potential sightings of the Martin family vehicle from along the I 5 corridor in Oregon to Burlington, Iowa, and Billings, Montana. But the whereabouts of the Martin family remained unknown. In the new year, some potential developments in the case gave hope to an increasingly cold investigation.
Mm.
In May 1959, following a tentative tip that arrived dating back to February, a river drilling rig hooked something heavy and metal on its anchor,
No!
but unfortunately came loose before broaching the surface. Evidence emerged just a few short days later suggesting that the Martin family car had plunged off a cliff into the Columbia River near the Dalles.
No. In the water.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to keep going. It was still early May of 1959 when that evidence, the bodies of the two youngest Martin girls, were discovered. Susan's body was found in the Columbia Slough near Camas, Washington, followed by Virginia's body near the Bonneville Dam spillway not far from the Cascade Locks. Despite these long overdue discoveries, the car was never discovered, never recovered.
Holy shit, dude.
Though some believe it was in fact the Martin vehicle that was briefly dislodged from the river by the drilling rig that loosed the two girls that were subsequently discovered, which I have to say makes a lot of sense to me.
It does, like, the timing of everything and
Mhm.
oh,
Susan's body was taken to the Clark County morgue in Vancouver, and in both cases, the cause of death was listed as drowning. Supports the theory of the car.
okay. Unless they were shot first.
Well, but it says cause of death is drowning.
So they were not decomposed too much to where they could figure out the cause of death.
I think despite whatever decomposition there may have been, it's cold enough in the months leading up to May. And I think if the decomposition is not too advanced, it stands to reason, I think, for me, and I'm by no means an expert, but I would think that water in the lungs, that would be something that might be preserved for a little bit longer, especially, like I said, those are colder months of the year,
Yeah.
particularly out towards Hood River.
Yeah. I was just thinking of, like, the bloody gun that was found.
Right.
I don't know, I don't know what I would prefer to, like, be shot or drown, like, ugh.
Yeah. I I think it seems clear that probably, um, I don't think that, that there was a choice.
Well,
So,
of course not, but
I hope what they say about, death by drowning is true because I've always heard, from various sources and different things that I've read over the years that that is supposed to be one of the more peaceful ways to die.
oh. Yeah, I was just thinking I don't want people to suffer, so whatever,
Right.
like, the least amount of suffering is.
Yeah. I don't it's hard to imagine because of course being um slowly suffocated is not good, but I've always heard that once you reach a certain point and the oxygen deprivation um hits a certain level that there's sort of a euphoria that kind of floods your system.
God, I would hope that there's something in place in your body to
Yeah.
help protect your
Right.
mind at the end.
Right. Yeah.
God, this is a dark conversation. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it got real dark.
It did.
Um, it's not about to get better necessarily. Susan was identified based on her clothing as well as her dental records. Dr. A.E. Waterman, the Martin family's dentist, stated all fillings in this girl's mouth match Susan's. Susan had been wearing red and white pedal pushers and a blue quilted coat.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Also more red and white. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But, like, this primary color scheme I like that she's got going on. The
Yeah.
blue and
Mhm.
mm.
Dr. Charles Larson, a pathologist from Tacoma, was summoned to perform her autopsy. Eventually, the underwater searches were called off when a diver very nearly perished in the efforts to discover the fate of the Martin family.
Ooh, that's so scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think a very risky endeavor. I mean, very much to this day, you are taking your life in your own hands when you go diving. And I mean, not to, you know, put anybody at a heightened sense of alarm, but it's a risky thing to do. And of course, there are people that are like trained experts, but it makes sense that at that point they would decide, does the benefit outweigh the potential harm?
Right, yeah, you don't wanna lose
Uh,
anyone else as much as you wanna know what happened, but you kind of,
right,
at this point, already have an answer, so, like, why do
right.
you need to keep looking if it's so
Yeah.
risky?
I mean, there are 3 remaining family members that have never been
Yeah.
found along with the vehicle, so I can understand why they continued, but I do think that, if you can't do it safely, you do
Yeah.
yeah, that it's a tough call. I
Mm,
I wouldn't wanna be the one that makes that call. I will say that.
no.
Still, not all was lost. As it turns out, though police work was at times tedious and thankless, Detective Walter Graven was quite dedicated. However, his efforts would continually be met by frustration after devastating frustration, further freezing the case with time.
Mm.
Detective Walter Graven is said to have never abandoned the case. Among his personal effects, a notebook full of his notes pertaining to the case was preserved, stowed away in a suitcase. One excerpt indicated he might have suspected he was on the right track with a particular suspect in the case, stating about the Martin family's disappearance and presumed demise that it has to be planned by, but unfortunately, the name was blacked out. If it was a name.
Redacted?
So it's impossible to read. And after he died in 1988, his suspicions went with him to the grave.
Why was it blacked out? He did he do it? Did someone else come through and look through his stuff and redact it?
It's hard to say. I would assume he did it.
Yeah, I would assume too, because like, why wouldn't they just, like, burn it or whatever? But
Right. Well, and it's stowed away inside a suitcase. It's
yeah. This is like a movie.
oh, totally. I mean, it really is. Though notably, his ambition to solve the case lived on as his grandson regaled local news media with some stories that he had shared over the years. So this is a case
Oh,
that literally stayed with him until he had
wow.
grandchildren.
Yeah, and then he, like, passed the dedication on to his grandchildren,
Yeah.
or at
I
least
mean,
one of them.
it was certainly something that stuck with them. I
Wow.
don't believe that his grandson entered, the law enforcement field, but the fact that
Oh,
it's like
yeah. Like,
This
the
is
stories.
yeah, but it's had an impact on him, and, I'm I'm thinking we may have a little Patreon mini-sode that sort of touches on some more modern aspects of the case.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was still one remaining member of the Martin family. And as is the case in any murder investigation, the detective had to explore every possible suspect and lead to try to determine what happened.
Ooh.
This is where Donald suddenly becomes a far more intriguing character in our story.
I kind of forgot about Donald until you just said that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Of course, he'd been far away from his family at the time of the disappearance. It was a verifiable fact. I mean, at the time, he was enlisted in the Navy and he was stationed in New York State at Fort Schuyler. Couldn't really get a whole lot further away unless he went international.
Right. Okay.
Besides, surely he wouldn't have had any involvement in the disappearance of his entire family, right?
I would hope not.
Yeah. I mean, why would he wish harm on any of the people that he'd grown up with?
I don't know. I could think of reasons, but I don't wanna say.
Now, it's entirely possible that he didn't have any ill will towards his own family. I feel like that would be kind of the default setting, hopefully.
Right.
After all, he was never arrested in connection with a crime related to his family's disappearance. Though that's not to say that he had never committed a crime.
I knew you were gonna say that.
In fact, he'd stolen thousands from his previous employer, Meyer and Frank, about 5
Oh,
years prior.
is that why they're out of business now?
It is not. Not related at
But,
all.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a good sign for the future.
No. I mean, it certainly didn't help.
That's awful.
Yeah. At the time, he blamed it on problems at home. And though he wasn't arrested, it seems the store may have been repaid by the family in order to avoid entanglement with the legal system.
Okay. Interesting. So at home, you mean his, like, family, or, like, his girlfriend
Yes.
at home?
No,
Okay.
because this is when
Interesting.
he was still living with the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
A 5-year-old theft hardly equates to motive for family annihilation. But of course, there are more details that have resulted in a few raised eyebrows in the years that followed. It wasn't until June 3rd, 1959, that Donald returned to Oregon. His family went missing in December. That is 6 months.
Okay. You think he would return sooner?
Yeah, and it's gonna come
Yeah.
up. I'm only saying that just because I was like, I wanna make sure that, like, because like, I can tell I'm like, you've been, like, on the edge of your seat and stuff, but, like, some of the dates and, like, other details, I was like, I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure that's, like
Thank you, 'cause I
yeah.
in the back of my mind, I was stuck on, like, an ADHD thing, and I was
Yeah.
thinking how, like, Oregon Ducks and he's Donald,
Donald.
and I was, like, trying so hard to pay attention to what you were saying. I
Well,
feel
I
like
was
you could pick up on it.
I was like, "Okay, she didn't react to the June 3rd thing," and I was like, "I feel like maybe the dates aren't fresh enough." So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna say it, and we can totally, like, cut that whole bit out or whatever," but I
I
was
don't
like,
care. If it fits, it fits.
"If it fits, it sits."
Yeah. No, I also think I needed a second to, like, process, yeah, the dates and
Mhm.
to see it. Like, yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
he should have been there sooner because his whole family
I
disappeared.
mean, you could make the argument he's enlisted in the
Well,
military and, like,
mhm.
they don't get to come and go as they please, but historically, if there's a death in the family,
Yeah,
you
they're
kinda get
gonna
you get a pass for that.
Yeah, unless he was stuck on a boat or something, but Navy
Right.
is Navy out on the boat? Yeah, that's the
He was
Navy,
at
right?
Fort Schuyler. He
Okay.
wasn't on a boat
Okay, okay.
actively that I'm aware of.
I see.
He reportedly claimed that he didn't return home sooner because his Aunt Charlotte told him at the time of the disappearance that there was nothing more that he could do back home by leaving his military post, which sounds reasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
But his aunt denied having made this statement or discouraging his immediate return.
Okay, so he said, she said.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but she is like a second grade school teacher, so
Why would she lie?
on it, she doesn't have any reason to lie.
Yeah.
My voice got really high there because I'm like, she wouldn't lie. Maybe this was a miscommunication of some sort. Though when Donald did make his way back to Oregon, he didn't attend the funeral held for his family due to a scheduling misunderstanding.
Well, what else are you doing,
Uh, uh,
dude?
yeah. I mean, that's the first of many questions that I have.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
weird. I
that's
mean,
pretty weird.
I don't know, everyone grieves different. Maybe he
Yep,
just, like, couldn't handle
exactly.
it, and so he was like, "Okay, well, like, I have this other thing, it's, like, really important. I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
do that
I gotta go do
instead."
that.
So, I don't know, maybe it's one of those things where yeah, some people just, like, can't some people just can't handle it. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's happened recently in my family where
yeah.
someone didn't come to a funeral, so
And it's tough, but I would say, I mean, my God, this is the entirety of your immediate family.
yeah.
Again, like you said, everybody grieves differently. And I've seen on a very personal level, like the a number of the wide variety of iterations of what grief looks like. But that seems bizarre.
Yeah.
That seems bizarre. While he was there, he did plan to settle his inheritance due to the presumption that the rest of his family was dead. Donald had noticed there were missing financial documents as he'd gone through the home and family's belongings while he was there. It would take 7 long years to get through probate. As required by law, there was a 7-year waiting period to establish the presumption of death of the parents. Once that period had come and gone, there was a $14,000 life insurance policy to settle.
Is that because they didn't find their bodies?
Right.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And remember, I had said early on that the home was valued at approximately $15,000 and there was $15,000 in cash and or other valuables. That's why I think it's so interesting thinking about, okay, well, what were the other valuables? Obviously not the car, never been
Right.
recovered,
Yeah.
but how much cash did they have? Is it $15,000 in cash and valuables and then also a $14,000 life insurance policy? I don't know.
And so you're saying, like, it sounds like that stuff is missing, or
Well, no, what I'm saying is presumably, if there was a lot of cash on hand, there's a house that obviously has a significant monetary value. And then additionally, down the line, once the probate process is all negotiated, there's also a $14,000 life insurance
I
policy.
see. Okay.
I mean, I didn't do the math or an inflation calculator, but I have to imagine that roughly $45,000 from 1959
Right. Yeah, that's a
is
lot.
a lot.
So that's a good little payout for the one surviving member of the family.
Correct. But was it true that something was amiss in the Martin family home? he's saying there's documents and, specifically potentially financial documents that have gone missing.
Hmm.
And in the years since the disappearance, a neighbor had come forward to authorities to provide additional information in the case. A black taxi had pulled into the driveway of the Martin family home on the morning after the disappearance. However, the main investigator did not get this information until 6 months later. The information only seemed relevant to the neighbor in hindsight as they became aware of the Martin family's disappearance. Because otherwise, why is that something that you would, I mean, give more than a second's thought to? I,
Right.
that would be like if you noticed every Uber.
Yeah.
Obviously, taxis, coming in and out of your neighborhood were probably far less frequent than that.
Especially
But
like a black taxi. I don't know. Were they
yeah,
that seems like a fancy taxi.
yeah.
A
I'm not sure.
faxi.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was at different points in history. Like taxis have sort of had like a different aesthetic. I don't know if that was like a regional thing or like
It
specific
sounds
to
like a town car, like ordering a
kind
town
of,
car or
kind
whatever.
of.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting. I didn't dig super deep on that, but if it was true, it lent credence to Donald's suspicions that perhaps someone had been in the home and even removed important financial information or other documents.
So how does he know that they're missing? Like how does he know about them?
And that was
I
kind
don't
of
know.
my first question. Hard to
Like
say.
what kind of documents?
Yeah,
If you know they're missing, you know what they are. What are they?
right. What are they? Exactly. Yeah. I feel like more than anything, this just really opens a lot more follow up questions. But
Huh. Okay.
as the sole surviving member of the immediate Martin family, Donald did stand to benefit financially from the family's estate and remaining assets. His sisters' bodies that had been recovered were quickly cremated after their remains were discovered.
Okay. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do, but
Yeah, I mean, at different points in history, and let's see, depending on sort of the era and the circumstances of a potential crime, I feel like there are certain lengths of time that you would expect that law enforcement would sort of hold over, and they would say, no, we're not going to allow you if you want to have your loved one cremated. That's fine. We're not here to tell you what to do in that regard, but you are going to have to wait a certain length of time before we will allow that, because if there's, evidence or sort of a suspicion of a crime, like we have to be able to
yeah,
gather all of that evidence.
it's
And
unsolved.
right, of course, autopsies were performed, but
Right.
and quickly is relative. Quickly in the 1950s versus quickly now, I don't know precisely what that time window looked like, but it was flagged. It was
Hmm.
flagged, by people that were familiar with the story and in a lot of the reporting. Probably because, at least in part, due to the fact that they were held in their urns at the mausoleum for 10 years, which I'm given to understand means that Donald never claimed them.
So he had to say the okay for them to get cremated, right?
Right.
So that he was
Presumably.
like, okay, cremate them and then didn't pick them up. So obviously he didn't really care.
And he's in
I
the
don't know.
military, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That could account for a certain amount of some of these things. but they were held by the facility in their urns for 10 years.
That's a lot of years.
You're not too busy for 10 years just to at least pick up a phone, call, and say, "Hey, can you FedEx me my dead relative?"
Man.
This only came to light when his grandmother passed away just a few days after Christmas in 1969, as her funeral and other arrangements were being made. It was then decided that all three would be buried and interred together.
Oh.
And this is another thing that gets a little bit weird. And it sort of goes back to that what you were saying about, you know, people grieve in different ways. He reportedly never shared the details of what had happened to his family when he started a family of his own across the country. He continued to live outside the state of Oregon and married his wife Helen at age 36. They went on to raise a family of their own. Donald was said to initially have been alienated from the family by his parents' disapproval, as it had been said that whether he came out to them or they merely suspected it, they believed he was gay.
Oh. Interesting.
Donald had reportedly been sent to a religious school in Connecticut where they attempted to convert him.
Oh, that's rough, dude.
Yeah. Is it possible that his family might have done such a thing? I mean, it seems like there is evidence or some sort of, statements made by people that knew the family that indicate, yes, that's what happened.
Wow.
Sadly, at the time, certainly very possible. And unfortunately, today, very possibly. Might they have sent him to a reform school simply because he'd been caught stealing? That's admittedly also a possibility. But there's also one last thing.
No, I don't want any more. I'm done. All done.
You're going to want to know.
Okay.
One of the items that Donald had stolen, dating back to his days at Myron Frank, was a gun that matched the description of the one found under the rock in the Cascade Locks.
The bloody gun.
hmm It even had the same serial number.
Okay.
It had already been cleaned by the man who found it after being returned by the authorities.
Of course.
The main investigator, Walter Graven, began to speculate that even though Donald was across the country, maybe he could have hired someone to carry out the deed. Maybe even two ex-cons.
Uh,
And that's where I'm going to actually leave this one. This was actually a really long set of notes for one of my episodes. And I have a couple of pages, it looks like, of a little bit more, just kind of a smattering about some other things that um, either more modern developments or kind of some things that didn't fit in neatly with the rest of the narrative as I kind of pieced it together. So I think we'll have to do a little mini-sode to kind of give people the rest of the story. But
okay.
yeah,
Wow.
I know.
That ending was like such a twist.
I know.
It's
I
like just,
know.
I guess just because these people died presumably tragically, that they
Yes.
were good people, but still doesn't mean that they deserved to die the way they died.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Also the kids, like I'm sure
Right.
the kids didn't have anything to do with that.
Right. They're blameless regardless of whatever their
Yeah.
parents might have done. And I
Mm.
mean, obviously, at this point, um, even if they had not been in the vehicle when it was, I mean, this is one theory, obviously, um, when it was submerged in the Columbia River, it more than likely all three of the remaining family members that were not previously found, they would probably be dead. Um, I mean, I suppose with the exception of Barbie because she was only 14 at the time. So, she very much, she could still be alive at this point if she had survived whatever happened to the rest of the family, but, um, there's a lot of different ways this case could go, but I think the fact that, you know, there are so many obvious tie-ins. This gun that's discovered right by the stolen vehicle, the ex-cons, and that gun happens to be more than likely the gun that Donald stole from Myron Frank. I honestly listen,
Man.
obviously, they were never able to piece together enough to feel like there was a case that they could win. Did they have enough for a case at some point? I think possibly, but DA likes to go for a case that they think they can win.
That seems like a hard this one seems hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that feel like, "Ooh," but then it's like it goes back to, like I said at the top, it's like it really is a lot of very circumstantial things.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I I know, who knew? It's like I wrote this
Poof.
thing.
It's like you researched the shit out of this or something.
Boy, did I. Yeah. Um,
Oh,
yeah. As usual, I found something that was a little bit more current when I really, I was like, "No, I gotta." um, I thought I had kind of gotten to the bottom of, like, okay, I think this is everything that feels like quality source material that feels usable, and then I was like, "Oh, another one." I'm in
oh,
my
I can't
DJ
wait.
Khaled era.
I need more. I
Yeah.
like well, I didn't like the story, but, like
I mean, it's a wild one, though. It does there are some things that I read that, make it sound even a little bit more salacious. Um,
ooh.
there are some things that I was like, I'm not sure that I'm seeing that echoed throughout the source material, so I don't know if I feel confident enough to say to include that. But there were some other kind of things that were rumored that I was like, "Ooh, boy. If it's true, it gets even wilder." But
Ooh. Well, let's go to Patreon and talk about it.
I right?
See you in the Patreon.
See you at the Poots. Should
Are
we
we doing
do
tarot?
Yeah, should we do some tarot about it?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Alright.
I'm
Bitchin'.
gonna have nothing to do with it because I'm not in your
I
vicinity, but
know.
I'll send you my powers and vibes.
Your vibes.
It's always about the vibes.
Oh, it's, um, it's the 10 of Cups
Okay.
in reverse.
I can't tell what it is because it's too blurry for me, but
It's okay, here. No? Okay. It's
it looks like
colorful, so
monkeys. Is it monkeys?
nope, not at all.
I can't tell, it's blurry.
It's it's birds.
Oh, are they on a tree?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I thought it was
That's
like monkeys on a tree. I see,
yeah,
I see.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many birds are there?
4.
Okay.
So numerically, it doesn't fully align for me, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna we'll see. We'll see.
10 of Cups is like the family card. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, shit. Okay, wow. Okay, I just always feel like cups is like I'm trying to sort of create a little bit of, like, muscle memory for myself about, like,
Mhm.
kind of broad strokes, themes, and things like that, and cups to me just is so positive that I'm always a little bit like, "Okay."
It is reversed
It
though,
is
so I feel like
reversed.
this one is kind of
Yeah, boy howdy. I skimmed real quick and, okay. Mhm. Keywords are comfort, happiness, domestic bliss, love, and harmony. A card of fulfillment, the 10 of Cups, represents a happy home where love and harmony abide. Some decks show a contented couple,
Is someone
gazing.
talking?
She's snoring audibly enough for you to
Oh,
hear, I
wow,
think.
it's loud and, like, it sounds really deep. Like, I thought some dude
Really?
was talking in the background.
Oh my gosh. I honestly usually you tell me like, "Oh, no, I can't hear it," or "It's fine." Yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah. Molly is in her fancy pants, puppy couch, and, she was snoozing.
Very cozy. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm glad you said something. Um, some decks show a contented couple gazing at their beautiful home while their children play. Others
Mm.
picture the pair with flowers, rainbows, and other symbols of love and hope. You could think of this as the happy ever after card.
I feel like that was, like, obviously just very much how they were being portrayed on the outside or how everything looked on
Yes.
the outside at least.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Like, even when you were talking about it, we were always like, "Oh, that's so wholesome," like,
Mhm.
dressed up like Santa and
Yeah. It
oh.
definitely has a very, um it just it's a wholesome vibe. It's, like,
Mhm.
very Brady Bunch, it's very of that era, which obviously the Brady Bunch, I realize, came a little bit later, but you know what I mean? It's a vibe,
The
okay?
vibe.
The reverse 10 may point to disharmony or disappointments in your home life.
Mm.
Things haven't turned out the way you'd expected.
I feel like this obviously was the perfect card.
Mhm. Sometimes it suggests a family that puts too much emphasis on stuff and not enough on love.
God.
In some cases, this card may represent the loss of a home or children leaving home.
Wow. There was, like, all of that going on. Like, the oldest left home to go to the Navy,
Yeah, which I feel like at that point in his life, that's a normal thing to do. But wow, the
but then,
fact
like,
that
yeah, losing
that's,
children, and they were the only ones who were found too, that's also interesting.
hmm,
But only wait, it was 3 children, right? And only 2
yes,
of them were
two
found?
of them
Okay.
were found. Yeah. The two younger of the three
Mhm.
girls. In a reading about money, the 10 reversed can mean having to scale down your expenditures and lifestyle. Sometimes it shows declining property values or squabbles over an inheritance.
Whoa. Or, like, having to pay for the fact that your son stole a bunch of shit too.
I mean, oof.
It all fits.
Oh my God. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Are we still so powerful from a distance?
I think so. Okay. If the reading is about your job, this card says you're not as secure as you'd like to be. Problems within a company may threaten your position, Or a company may grow too fast or overextend itself, requiring you to work extra hard. Um, I I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I don't think I stated it in so many words, but I think it goes without saying that Donald was fired from Meyer and Frank.
Right, I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that matches up with problems within a company
Yeah, I think
threatening
so.
your position. Um,
Wow.
okay. Oh, this this is very interesting. Okay. I'm not gonna say anything. I wanna get your take on this. Okay.
Okay.
In a reading about love, a partner may not share your values or may have different ideas about family life. Maybe you don't get along with the in laws, or kids from a former relationship cause problems.
What do I don't
I was
know.
like, I wanna see your reaction and see, like, what you think about that before I say anything. Like,
I
I
don't know, my first thought was, like, not love as in, like, a relationship, but, like, love as in like, this is their family life and the parents don't agree maybe with how the son wants to live his life. I don't know.
yeah. I feel like there's part of me that reads into this, and again, it's hard to know if Donald was actually someone who was gay. I mean, he married a woman and had children, but that was not an uncommon thing for a gay man to do at that point in history.
Right.
Um,
Especially if your freaking family tries to convert you, if that
right.
happened.
Right, which it sounds I don't have any reason to doubt that his family did try to convert him and that they were disapproving of that, quote, lifestyle. Um, I think it does speak to just sort of a difference in values or, as it says, different ideas about family life. And I think that could relate to the conflict with him and his parents, or ultimately, because if you are a gay man that is living closeted and, you know, you're living with a partner and creating a family, ultimately that could speak to some conflict in the relationship that you have with that partner.
Yeah. I was totally thinking, like, of his wife, and
Mhm.
I was trying to think too, like, did you mention in-laws because I think you said the word in-laws in that
Yeah.
statement, like, having trouble with your in-laws?
Yeah, it says maybe you don't get along with the in-laws. Well, pretty hard to not get along with the in-laws when they are dead,
Right. Yeah.
presumably. I
Ah.
mean, at this point, they certainly are, regardless of
Yeah,
what happened to
legally,
them.
anyway, yeah.
I mean, legally or otherwise, it's been a number of years and they were both born in the early 1900s. They are
Right.
certainly dead. But
Yeah, I keep forgetting kinda how old this is.
right, right. I know. Yeah.
Because, like you said, it feels like
Hmm.
it could be happening recently.
Yeah. So I'll just read the little short story that's kind of it serves as our interpretation.
What kind of birds are they?
I'm not sure yet. Hopefully it says.
It doesn't say it under the
Oh
usually it
wait,
says at
no,
the
I found
top.
it. I found it.
Okay.
They are violet green swallows. The sun shower had felt good, washing the swallow's feathers clean after too long cooped up in a nest that would be generously described as cozy. But now that the summer rain was finally letting up, she was so ready to take to the air to stretch her wings. And judging by their hungry chirping, again already, her chicks were ready for her to go too. Droplets flaked outward from her wingtips as she rapidly beat the air, expertly intercepting insects to deliver to hungry beaks. Each time she returned, her mate eyed her admiringly from the back of the nest, happy to see her back and happy to watch over the hatchlings while she was away. I was like,
Aw.
This motherfucker, get off your ass. Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
It's still the wholesome vibe.
Yeah. She knew one day her chicks would fly off, migrate on their own paths, perhaps find their own mates and nest. But that was for another season. For now, they were happy and safe, caring for each other. At this moment, that constant chirping was the most beautiful sound she could imagine.
Aww. I mean, it makes me sad. It
Yeah.
did remind me though, like talking about the water and the rain, that the cups are water
Mhm.
and the water had a lot to do with this.
Yes, it definitely did.
Yeah. Interesting.
Ooh, I've gotten the chilly willies a couple of times. Interesting.
I
We've
know
gotten
it's
the
oh, I was just thinking about how like it said that, your children are gonna find a mate and
mm,
move out on their own.
mhm.
And it's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
what if that mate isn't the person that you think is right for your child? Like it just
Yeah.
reminded me of that too.
Yeah. That's sort
Like
of
everything's perfect and nice until it's not.
yeah. Yeah, that's sort of where my head went to as well, and ultimately, he kind of went off on his own, and I mean, the thing about it is that part of me does wonder because, his parents and, his siblings were long dead by the time that he married. So, it's possible that he still just felt like that was necessary to do to be able to live somewhat like a semblance of a normal life in
Yeah.
society. But I feel like, if he had cut all of those ties, whether by his own hand or just by, you know, that is what was determined, by fate. I can't help but wonder, why would he have gone through with, sort of I think what most of us would refer to as kind of a sham marriage if that was the case, but I who
Or
knows?
maybe he was just like a bisexual and was like, "Yeah, I
Could be
like dudes,
that.
but I also ended up falling in love with a woman and
Mhm.
completely like have a normal, not I don't want to say normal, but I have like a loving marriage is what I
Right.
mean by normal."
Like, yeah, but like a happy and healthy, well-adjusted
Yeah.
relationship. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
possible too.
yeah. I'm not I'm I feel like, I steer heavily on this one, and I think there are certain things that, they feel more likely than, some of the other theories that I've heard. Um, there are a number in this case, um, but I don't think there's any one theory that feels like it kind of totally fits. Like, did they
Yeah.
get driven off the edge of a cliff by ex-convicts? And if
Mm.
so, was that just because those people were in the wrong place at the wrong time? Was that sort of a hitman squad that was hired by Donald? I mean, I don't know. I
Did
don't
he
know.
use the gun for someone else? Like, is someone else out there like another unsolved murder that they don't even
Right.
know about?
I know that was kind of something that came across. Yeah, like, mm, there there are so many questions. So many questions.
Did they DNA test the blood on the gun and, like, save it?
Cassie.
Did not have DNA testing back then?
No.
I don't know the
No.
timeline.
And it was already
Okay,
cleaned. 1959, they did not have DNA
okay.
testing. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know when that came about. I really don't.
Like, in our lifetime, like, when we were, like, actual living, breathing people. This is
Like the
something.
90s?
Yes, it was in its infancy in the 90s, so it wasn't good.
You know the times where I'm like, "Were cars invented yet?" I have a
Mhm.
really hard time with the timeline.
Well, and we've kind of covered, like, through this because, I mean, the parents were born early in the 1900s. We've been talking about kind of the 50s. This really it covers, multiple decades because
Yeah.
by the time they figured out that, like, holy shit, the sisters' remains were never claimed, that's, like, almost 1970.
Wow.
So, I mean, details of this case span multiple decades. And the article that I was kind of intrigued by, just it's interesting to hear a little bit more. It's actually dated to 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's, like, old. It
yeah.
sounds like it's not that old, but it is.
Yeah. That's roughly 15 years ago.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
if I can quickly do math in my head, it's like 15.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's wild.
We're coming
Um
on 2025 soon. We're coming on 2025.
Coming
Actually,
on.
when this is out, it's New Year's Eve. I think we decided we're gonna put this out on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, happy 2025. Ah, crazy. We're
That's
gonna have a
how
good year
I really hope so.
because 2024 didn't turn out the way any of us wanted. Well, some of us wanted it, but not enough. Not enough of us wanted
Yeah.
the different outcome, apparently.
It's really strange how that worked out.
So
But
we're just gonna move on 2025. You know what? We're gonna focus on us this year. Fuck everyone else.
mhm.
Except for the creepy people. It's us and the creepy people this year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, should we do our outro thingy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Have a
Have a
creepy ass
creepy
New
ass New
Year's.
Year. See you next year.
See you next year. Oh my god.
Don't have a 2025 that's as creepy as 2024 though.
I have a feeling it's only going to get creepier.
Ah, well,
And
we're
not in that
here.
good way.
We're here for you. We're here for us. You're here for us. We're here for you.
Help us.
We can do this, you guys.
We totally can.